It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025, and I am up a little over 2.2% today. And this is on a day where the NASDAQ is actually down slightly over 0.1%. And if we take a look at my recent transactions, I don't remember where I last left off, but recently I did go ahead and sell my entire Burberry stake in my Robinhood account. And then I did go ahead and sell another covered call on Robinhood, much closer to the money. And it's actually in the money right now, I believe. So I am slightly in the red, but I did collect a lot of premium, a little over $1,800, expiring in December. And basically, I'm just hedging myself against an end of year correction if it ever does come. And one of the things that I've been seeing a lot on X is a lot of people posting their year-to-date gains. A lot of people are flexing. I've seen some screenshots where people have over 150% year-to-date, over 200% year-to-date, which is crazy. Congrats to all of you guys that have a ridiculous year-to-date gains like 200%. And I've also seen some people that are in like the 30s, the 50s that were a little bit late on the hype train when it comes to stocks like Robinhood, Palantir, and they're catching like those last minute gains towards the tail end, basically FOMOing, or they've just been in a lot of boring stocks. But I do think the hype is getting to a point, or it's close to the point of euphoria, where people are just overly bullish on stocks like Robinhood, stocks like Palantir, and some other smaller stocks that I'm not really familiar with because I did not personally look into them or invest in them. And a lot of analysts are actually coming out, increasing their price targets on Robinhood, saying that it's going to hit 175, 180, whatnot. So expectations are starting to get pretty steep for Robinhood, which is my number one position. And even though I did not want to sell this many covered call contracts because I want to keep the majority of my shares, I do think I should be a lot more responsible, or at least a little bit more responsible than I was previously during these other times when the market did take a dip. And I told myself that I was going to hedge or protect my portfolio a little bit, start selling to cash in some profits, start buying some puts or selling covered calls. I always would tell myself these things, but not really do it to like the full extent of what was able to do, if that makes any sense. So my portfolio has always been very volatile. And even though that did pay off because my gains were not capped at all, it was just pure upside for me, at least when it comes to stocks like Robinhood. But I do think now it is getting to a point where I should be a lot more responsible. And I have been saying for a while now that I think 2026 we will see some sort of correction. Maybe it's 2027 or maybe it's this year, towards the end of this year. Who knows? But basically, what I'm going to do with these covered call contracts, if there is no end of year correction, I'm just going to end up rolling them into 2026. At higher strikes, see where it plays out. But basically, I'm hoping Robinhood just kind of hovers around here. I'll be able to roll out like these 150s into maybe 170, 175s into next year. And then like the 175s, roll them into 200s expiring next year possibly. But we'll see where it all goes. But today, Robinhood, of course, was green. Nike actually taking a dip. Palantir also slightly green. Pepsi up over 4% today after earnings. RPX just doing its own thing. SoFi up over 1%. And of course, we also have to get to your guys' comments on my previous videos. And I think the last one we left off on was Trade Like Ace. So I do believe I've already answered your question. But we have Prod that says fire emoji. We have Class 1. I think that's what your name is supposed to be. It says, you came a long way, bro. Remember when you just hit 100K? And yeah, like I said, it's insane how literally last November, I think, like almost a year ago, was when I hit my first 100K milestone ever. And now I'm 3x that, which is just incredible. We have Chicken Joe that says my AMD shares carrying my account. I got my majority in it. So congrats to you guys and all the AMD hodlers out there. Unfortunately, I did sell right before the huge pump where I could have doubled my Roth IRA. But it is what it is. We have Rick Moss that says, will you be contributing more into your Roth IRA next year or even some this year? And definitely, I did want to just leave it at $1,000 to see how fast I could grow that. But after giving it some thought and some input from you guys, I probably will just keep depositing into that one just because Robinhood gives that 3% match. And then maybe I'll open like $1,000 account somewhere else and just kind of do that $1,000 challenge sometime in the future. So definitely, I do plan on contributing more into the Roth IRA, especially if the market takes a dip, so I can take a lot more risk in it and possibly have some big tax-free gains. We have, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. What are your thoughts on TLT as a trade, or on a TLT trade as we approach end of year? Looks like a trend reversal might be brewing. Would you position towards TLT if we enter a bear market in 2026? So I actually did have a position in TLT a long time ago that I cashed out on. I don't think I made any money in TLT. I was probably a little bit too early, but I do remember a very, very long time ago, I did talk about interest rates briefly in one of my previous videos. And I do still think that the very long-term trend, interest rates are going to go up. So maybe in the short term, the Fed cuts rates, right? Interest rates go down. If the market goes down, either end of this year or next year, 2027, whatever. So maybe in the short term, rates do go down. But I think in the long term, like I'm talking 10 to 30 years, I do think we're going to see a higher interest rate environment, unfortunately. I mean, you just look at stuff like gold. Gold is just soaring. It's outperformed even the stock market, which is insane, right? Gold is just, it's literally just a brick. It's just material, and it's outperformed companies that actually provide products and services. So you just got to take that into account. And not just gold, but a lot of commodities have been going up as well. People's faith in the dollar and bonds in general have gone down. I think for the most part, people understand that bonds underperform. So I think taking that into account in the future, as these people get older, put a lot more, they have more say in their retirement and their investment decisions. I think less people are going to go into bonds as like a long-term trend that could possibly, lead to like higher interest rate environment. Obviously, I'm not a financial expert. It's just me speculating, pure guessing on my part. But I do think that is something to take into account and consider. But we have TDTY that says, brother, you couldn't have sold your AMD at a worse time. Yeah, I know. I literally sold right before the huge pump. And my Roth IRA would be almost doubled where it is right now. So yeah, I did screw up on that. Confused as to why you exited if you were holding long. So I wasn't holding long. It was a leveraged ETF on AMD. So I was doing it as a trade, right? I wasn't owning the leveraged ETF on AMD as like an actual long-term investment. If I wanted to invest in something and like actually be a shareholder of it, I would just buy the stock. So I was doing it as like a trade. Unfortunately, I sold right before the pump actually came. But he says, also, I know you said you want to see how high you can take your first 1K in your Roth, but you're doing yourself a disservice. And yeah, I guess, that's what we've been talking about in this video. So I do plan on depositing more in my Roth IRA. And you are right, I am not maximizing the full potential of my Robinhood Roth that has that 3% match. All right, and we've got some more comments here from Not Financial Advice. We have him from Charlotte that says, do you think UNH is a good stock, with 2 more replies. Let's see. I'm personally not touching that company. I see a lot of opportunities, and I don't need to put money towards that. I also think that if you want to buy, the opportunity was there around 2 months ago. So interesting question. When it comes to healthcare, it has underperformed in recent memory. And I do think it is possible for healthcare as an industry to start catching up. But I honestly don't know much about the healthcare industry to actually have confidence in a big investment position. So I can't really respond to you honestly, Charlotte. But we also have Chicken Joe that says, I even got some money in the leverage position AMDL. So congrats to you guys that actually stuck it through with AMD. But I guess I'll just be on to the next one and look out for different opportunities. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to you guys for helping me get or almost get to 1,000 subscribers. I am at 950 right now. So I appreciate you guys. A huge boom recently, most likely because of Robinhood and AMD stock going up. So that has brought in a lot of views, but we are 50 subs away from 1,000.